Hello students, I wanted to give you a few notes about this reading from Gloria Anzaldua, How to Tame a Wild Tongue. I would say this is one of the more difficult readings that you may complete, but also one of the most amazing, I think, and interesting readings that you may complete. But this is from a book called Borderlands, La Frontera, and you may remember that Anzaldua is interested in borders, and she lives near the border between U.S. and Mexico, but she is also interested in borders between languages, between people, and different identities. Okay, so there are very many interesting ideas in this article. For example, you could see how many different languages Gloria speaks and how many her family speak. And that she speaks different languages and different varieties or maybe dialects of languages depending which group of people she is with. Also, Gloria experiences quite a bit of linguistic discrimination and linguistic racism. Okay, so for your upcoming assignment, you will, of course, be completing the per usual, and you can see here the questions here. About what happens to, that you should be answering about Gloria Anzaldua. As a reminder, if you are in language seminar in the support class, if you go to my Blackboard site, you would also see an audio version of this reading. So sometimes it helps to listen and read along when you read something like this that's maybe a little more conversational. So feel free to listen and read it along while you're working on understanding it. So I want to give a little bit of practice with the tasks that you will also do during English 101, which is paraphrasing an example of linguistic racism from this reading. So we paraphrased some examples of linguistic racism in this, The Pervasive Problem of Linguistic Racism. We read some short excerpts and we practiced putting them in your own words. So now we're going to practice doing that with Anzaldua, and I'm going to show you a little bit here of a Kahoot that I made for you to help you review some of the concepts that you need. So you could see here, for example, we have the question, what does paraphrasing mean? Does it mean copying from an article, using ideas from an article in your own words, summarizing, or studying new phrases? And hopefully you know that it means using ideas from an article in your own words. This is a little different from summarizing. Summarizing, we want to say what happened in the whole story. But in paraphrasing, we're just taking a section and doing some ideas from there. Okay? Let's see if we're going to win this one. Okay, when we see this phrase, according to Anzaldua, what is this? What does according to Anzaldua mean? Is it a signal phrase, an in-text citation, a paraphrase, or a quote? Hopefully you said, according to Anzaldua, is a signal phrase. This is something that happens before a quote or a paraphrase. We don't know yet if what comes next is a quote or a paraphrase. That's why we have the ... Okay? So let's see what we got next. Anzaldua 43, you can see this in parentheses, is an example of what? A quote, a signal phrase, a reference list, or a parenthetical citation. Hopefully you selected a parenthetical citation. That means it is in parentheses, these types of brackets, and we see the author's last name and the page. And that's important that we need a signal phrase before a quote or a paraphrase and a parenthetical citation after. So let's analyze a little bit with paraphrasing practice. It's going to give us two choices and we'll see which one is better. This is what Gloria Anzaldua wrote. In grad school, I had to argue with one advisor after another before I was allowed to make Chicano literature my focus. Chicano meaning Mexican American. So in this one, she's mostly saying she had to argue with people to be allowed to study this area of literature. So she had to argue with many advisors to make a focus on Chicano literature, or she tried hard to convince people to let her study Chicano literature. Which do you think is the better paraphrase? I would say this one is better, and I will tell you why. Here we have a word repeated. Argue, argue. Advisor, advisor. Focus, focus. We are repeating in this example too many words from the original. So instead of argue here, we said convince. Okay? The people here were the advisors. So remember, it's important to change words when you are paraphrasing. Okay, let's look at another example. So the first paraphrase strategy is using synonyms, and as I mentioned, when instead of repeating the word argue, we use the word convince. Okay, let's see another strategy applied. I and all Chicano students were required to take speech classes. Their purpose, to get rid of our accents. Okay, so in the university where she went, she was forced to take a speech class, and the purpose of the speech class, the reason for the speech class, was to get rid of their accents. So let's see which is better. The school made us take. Oops, I already answered it. I missed my time. The school made us take speech classes to change our pronunciation. Or we all had a requirement to take courses in speech. Their goal, cut accents. So look, when you compare these two, they are too similar. Especially this part, their purpose, their goal, cut accents. We want to change the order of the sentence. So instead of saying we were required, it says the school made us take. Instead of saying their purpose, we can just say to change our pronunciation. Okay, so this is an example of linguistic discrimination, right? Because if only certain people are required to take a class that changes their accent, that is a type of discrimination. Okay? So this strategy was to use a new subject. So instead of saying I and all students were required, we said the school made us, or the school forced us. Let's look at another example. I remember being caught speaking Spanish at recess. That was good for 3 licks on the knuckles with a sharp ruler. So, being caught means somebody finding her. What are knuckles? Knuckles are this part of your hand. Okay, what is a ruler? It is a long thing that we use to measure. This is what her teacher did. Licks means hitting. Okay, so, oops, I'm going to quickly answer the question here. But I want to make sure, and I hope you're watching this video so you know that when the teacher caught her speaking Spanish at recess, at break time, okay, she hit Gloria with a ruler. Okay, so I recall that I spoke Spanish during break. That was great for hitting me. No, it's not saying that was good. It means that was, it was good for something means it caused me to receive this physical punishment. So I changed it to, when the teacher heard her speaking Spanish, she punished Gloria physically. Okay, maybe some of you experienced that kind of physical punishment from teachers. In many countries now, I think it's going, let's say, out of style. It's not used that much anymore, but in some places it still is. Okay, and obviously that was a clear example of linguistic discrimination. So this strategy here was to add a connecting word. I added the word when to that sentence to connect the two parts, speaking Spanish and receiving a physical punishment. Okay, so to link those, I added a connecting word of when. Okay, now, oh, we're not going to do this part. So just as a reminder, going back to our original Anzaldua article, do your best with this, do your best with the perusal, and your best with the paraphrasing, and this is something that we will continue to work on, but I hope this video has been helpful to you.